pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Detweiler? Here. Mr. Martucci?
Here.
Mrs. Driscoll?
Here.
Mr. Harshman?
Here.
Mrs. Sangston?
Here.
Mr. Renzi?
Here.
Mr. Kokenauer?
Here.
Mr. Martre?
Here.
Mr. Panzello?
here. Motion for the minutes of the previous meeting.
Second.
Motion is second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Motion for the treasurer's report.
So moved. Second.
Motion is second. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Motion for the payment of the general CACT and federal fund bills. Motion is second. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Motion for the payment of the cafeteria fund bills.
Second.
The motion is second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, we'll let, we're going to go to student representative of the school board, Dane Pavlovich. Thank you.
Hi, as most of you know, my name is Dane Pavlovich, and some recent updates from our school are, we just recently had our student council officer elections in this very room about a week or so ago, and our new president is Kyler Tony, vice president is Avery Christopher, our treasurer is Aubrey Skiles, our secretary is Allison Johnson, our tech advisor is Marissa Minor, and I am once again school board liaison. That's all I have for you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
All right, now we will move to a presentation by Mrs. Routzen, business.
Alright, so tonight I will give the presentation on the proposed final budget for the 25-26 school year. The district has to adhere to the compliance of the Act 1 timeline. The proposed final budget must be passed by May 31st, and the final budget must be passed by June 30th. There must be 30 days between passing the proposed and the final budget. The tax rate and homestead rate are not set this month. These will be voted on at the June meeting. This will also be when you vote on the final budget. After approving the proposed final budget, a detailed budget will be on display at the administration office for a period of 20 days prior to the board approving the final budgets. For the 25-26 school year, there are some of the factors, these are some of the factors that have effects on the budgets. The rates for employee insurances are all increasing, with medical at 5.7%, dental and vision are both at 3%. The PASERS rate is only slightly increasing from 33.9% to 34%, but the total PASERS cost will increase primarily due to the increases in salaries. The salaries for the district increase anywhere from 2.5% to 3.5% with all of between all of the employment contracts. So first, I'd like to discuss the Career and Technical Center budget because it has a direct effect on the district's budget. The Career and Technical Center's budget for 24-25, the current year, was $4,475,709. The proposed budget for next year is $4,592,114. This is an increase of $116,405. So the difference, the CTC does receive state subsidies, Carl Perkins federal revenue, as well as other small grants and local collections, such as the Culinary Arts Program and the Cosmetology Program. However, the school district has to fund the tuition cost for the remainder of the budgets. So this tuition cost expense to the district will be just under $3 million. Before discussing the district budget, I wanted to speak a little bit about the fund balance and show a history of the school district's fund balance over the past 15 years and then estimating the next few years. The district did have a decent fund balance in 2010 and 11 school year at $13.8 million. The district had not raised taxes and continued to pass deficit budgets until 2015-2016, when the fund balance was nearly depleted at $210,000. This is when we raised taxes to the maximum allowable, we closed 4 school buildings and had significant layoffs to try to pull the district out of this hole. We were fortunate in 2016-2017 year that the state released some Plan Con funding that they had put a freeze on for several years. This reimbursement was on several construction projects that the district had approved for state reimbursement. So this approximately $3 million, as well as the savings from the cuts that had been made, helped this fund balance build back up. Then came the unfortunate pandemic that crippled our nation. However, the federal funding that we received from COVID, we've used this to maintain our existing teaching staff. And with those funds covering salaries and benefits for many teachers, we were able to reduce spending and add to our fund balance. We currently have a total fund balance of $22,969,034. We need to be careful, though, that we do not repeat history and deplete these funds. The projected years have the current budget for 24-25 and the 25-26 years with what we have projected. And then I projected 3% increases on expenditures and not increasing taxes. With those, we need the expenditures that we would be down to approximately $10 million by the end of 27-28 school year if things continue. So we need to work together to make sure that this does not happen. While we may need to use some of the fund balance over time, we can't use it as quickly as this projection is showing. So I want to explain a little bit about what makes up this fund balance. So the total fund balance, was the end of the 23-24 audit, it was the $22,969,034. The makeup of this fund balance are classified as non-spendable, which is $1,135,764. The assigned portion of $15,153,892, and the unassigned fund balance, which is $6,679,337. The non-spendable amount is the prepaid expenditures. These would be for expenses that are due prior to the July 1 start of the year, but they are for the new year. One example is healthcare. It's due in the prior month for the next month. The assigned fund balance is made up of the OPEB liability, which is a GASB 75 requirement, and the future increases for salaries and benefits. So some of the state regulations is that the district can only raise taxes as long as the unassigned fund balance is less than 8% of the total budget. They also recommend that school districts should have at least 6% of their budget in the unassigned fund balance. With our assigned fund balance, it is 7.7% of the current budget. Therefore, we meet both of these guidelines. Now to discuss the school district's proposed budget. This is the breakdown comparing the 24-25 budget year, current year, with the 25-26 proposed budget. The increase in revenues is just over $1.5 million, which is a 1.76% increase. The increase in expenditures is just under $3 million at 3.45% increase. 62% of this budget is salaries and benefits, and these rates are bound by contracts. This is a deficit budget as it was last year. The options we have are either raise taxes or use money from the fund balance or a combination of the two.
Or could I ask, you've given us two options, could we add a third in there that we actually go through the budget again and look for?
Oh, yeah,
Things that
we
we
are
can
gonna continue to do that. We absolutely are gonna continue to go through the budget, and I say that in further on. But yes, we will be continuing to look at this budget over the course of the year. This is a slide that shows the revenue portion of the budget. It shows that 70% of the budget, the revenue, comes from the state, 3% comes from federal government, and our local share is 27%. This is primarily made up of real estate taxes and earned income taxes. Although Connellsville relies heavily on state revenue for the budget, the only portion that the board has control of is our local real estate taxes. And you can only raise the taxes as high as the Act 1 index. So another piece of revenue is the homestead farmstead tax reduction. So we have good news with this year. The state is providing additional gambling revenues again, as they have in the last couple of years. So this is increasing $223,997 to the total amount of $2,405,551. But this does not mean that the district's going to have additional revenue. So this money is distributed back out to the taxpayer. So it's two different line items in your revenue. And then we have 9,136 homeowners that are going to receive this tax reduction. And it will be approximately $27.50. The rate changes a little bit by a few pennies here or there, depending on what our tax rate is. The tax reduction in 2024 was $240.58. This amount is increasing, like I said, the $27.50, and it'll be approximately $268 for the 20-25 year. The adjusted Act 1 index for Connellsville is 5.7%. This slide shows the amount that you can raise taxes if you were to choose to do so. The assessed value of all properties in the district after the homestead reduction it's in the box there, the assessed value, $1,064,597,660. The maximum that you can raise taxes is the 0.9254. This would bring in just under the $900,000 at the $886,000 at a 90% collection rate. If you were to raise them a $500,000, it would be approximately, it's almost $500,000, and you could even raise them a $250,000. It's at the discretion of the board. There's no set amount. If you were to decide to raise them, you can raise them any amount that you want. But again, once again, this tax rate is not being decided tonight. This will be decided in June, and the board will have that as a motion to set the tax rate at what they decide to do. So while talking about revenues, I wanted to talk and explain a little bit more about the largest portion of our revenue budget, and it's the basic ed subsidy. I explained this a few years back about the calculation of the subsidy, and I thought it was worthwhile to bring this to light again. So your basic ed subsidy is comprised of two parts. You have the hold harmless amount that is unchanged from year to year. Then there is an amount that changes every year, and all new funds that are put forth by the state are included into that new formula. So this formula portion of the subsidy, it was added in the 2015-2016 year. And these are the components that make up the formula. You have your 3-year average daily membership, your poverty weights, your English language learner weights, your charter weights, sparsity size weight, median household income index, and local effort capacity index. Back in 2020-21, we actually lost money through our basic ed because we fell off the concentrated poverty weight, so we're no longer included in that part of the formula. We do not receive, and we lost, it was $133,966 in that year. And then in 2021-22, we fell below the state average for the local effort capacity index. And I'll show that a little bit later in another slide in more detail. So for the local tax effort and local tax capacity, you need to either have growth in your community to generate tax revenue, or you need to increase taxes to generate more taxes, or increase the tax rate to generate more taxes. The state median for this local tax effort is 1.6. Connellsville's is 0.86. So part of that calculation was the poverty weights. These poverty rates that are included in this calculation, they're no longer using the free and reduced lunch data. They look at the federal census data for all 3 poverty rates. This is due to the community eligibility program that a lot of school districts are under, as well as Connellsville School District. And due to this, that's why they use an average of 5 years of the federal census data.
I have another question for you.
Yes,
I'm
ma'am.
sorry. Under the local effort, state median is 1.06, Connellsville's at 0.86. Is that number based on 2021, 2022, or 2020, 2021? Or
The 0.86 is
Yeah.
actually the rate that is in the formula for the 25-26 school year.
and that is including us having raised taxes
Mhm.
maximum 2 years in a row?
Yep, I've got about three or four slides from now. I have a history of what that has been over the last, maybe 8 to 10 years. I'll show you that in a second.
Thank you.
No problem. So this picture explains all the components of the formula for the basic education. And so it includes the top line there. To get the weighted district average daily membership, they take a 3-year average of the school's district ADM, the poverty weights, which we're no longer qualifying for that, so that amount is 0. They add the English language learner weight and the charter school weights. And then once they calculate the weighted district average daily membership, then I'm going to show you on the next line, on this slide. So this part of the calculation is the part I wanted to point out. It takes the total student weighted average daily membership, and it multiplies the median household income index with the local effort capacity index. These 2 numbers are the final part of the calculation, and they vary from year to year, and it's based on an average of where you fit in upon the state. So it's not just us raising taxes or not raising taxes. If a lot of the state schools across the line are raising taxes and we're not, we're gonna drop and they're gonna raise. If we raise and the schools don't, we might raise. So it's based on an average across the state. So when I talked about the median household, there was the 2 index, median household income and the local effort capacity. These 2 numbers work together in that formula, and so they are multiplied together. So you can either have both numbers above 1, both numbers below 1. You can have one up above and one below. Those work together to multiply to calculate your state subsidy. So this is the slide, Cecilia, I was talking about with the history of these numbers. So you can see back to 2015, 2016, both median household income and the local tax effort were both above the 1. So in 21-22 was the last year that we were above 1 in the local effort capacity index. we were dropping and we continue to drop until 23-24. We've slowly increased. You can see in 23-24 it was 8.83. We've increased a little bit since then. And so those two numbers calculated together is where we get a net impact with a multiplier of 1.13. So there are, of the 500 school districts, 208 school districts across the state are below that one multiplier. So raising taxes can have an effect on this, but again, it's the average across the state. Speaking more about revenue, so the state has consistently passed their budget late, which leaves a lot for uncertainty for many school districts across the state as to how much to budget in this state revenue. With 70% of our budget coming from the state funding, this makes our budget very difficult because there's a lot of unknowns. So the governor's proposal is proposing a basic ed subsidy of $35,115,164. This is an increase of $175,499. And the special ed subsidy is, he's proposing an increase, or the amount of $5,804,176, and that's an increase of $108,560. One thing in this budget that we've done is status quo for all the federal subsidy and state grant, all the federal subsidies and grants, such as Title I, Title II, Title IV, IDEA, and Access. We've been told we're probably not seeing growth in that, and we're probably going to hit status quo for this next year, and then we'll go forth from there to see if that's going to be cut. So one big piece is the governor is proposing an increase in the Ready to Learn and adequacy funding. But it's unknown as to how this is going to be distributed and also the requirements for the spending of this adequacy money. If the proposal passes, it could mean an additional $1,265,000. That is not included in the budget because from what we're hearing from other organizations and from legislators that there's not enough support to support this governor's proposal. So that is not in there. If we were to get that, or if we hear more within the next month that we think that's going to pass, that would be definitely help our budget tremendously to add an additional $1.52 million. But with the state not passing a budget, it would be very difficult to predict what these numbers are going to be. So this is a slide to show the expenditure side of the budget. I'm going to flip over to the expenditures. Right now, we're looking at expenditure budget of $89,142,510. 63%, the big blue one, is the salaries and benefits. This makes a great investment, though, on our staff that supports our students. Purchase services, which is the blue on the left-hand side, that includes your transportation, contracted services, tuition for both placement schools and charter schools, and that makes up 23% of the budget at just under $21 million. Supplies and utilities and equipment is only 5% of the budget at just under $4 million. And debt service and other financing is $9 million or 10% of the budget. So I wanted to discuss maybe a little bit about department budgets. So our largest department would be your basic education. This includes salaries and benefits as well as your supplies and books and things you buy for students in regular ed. This makes up $31.4 million of the total budget. Special education is the next largest portion of the budget at $16.9 million of the budget. we have close to 25% of our student population that is receiving some type of services in special ed. While this amount does include also salaries and benefits, there are also costs required, that are required services. That includes tuition for students that are placed in outside placements, that have specialized schooling, and services for those students. These costs have increased drastically over time with all the requirements that have been placed out there for schools. So one cost that is not included in this section, but it has a direct effect on our budget due to the students in this population, is we do have some specialized transportation for some students, and you also have additional nursing services. But those are not budgeted in the special education budget. Those are under the transportation and support services sections of the budget. So the support services, this is a total of $12.1 million in the budget. That includes nursing services, school counselors, contracted student services, and all other administrative services. And then the operations and maintenance, that includes our buildings and grounds, as well as security and all utilities for all of our schools. And that's just over $7 million. Transportation is just under $7 million. And at last, the debt service is $7.5 million.
One more question. On the debt service, we are talking about possibly a project with DT.
Yes.
That amount of money that we're gonna have to be putting out in the 2025-2026 school year, is that included in the $7 million?
Yes, I have, it's included, so that under that debt service is also the contingency, that portion of that budget. And so that contingency is where I had put a half a year payment. So I put $550,000 as an estimate, because we don't know if that project continues the way we had been, the discussion. Bond issue would probably be done sometime during the school year, and we may very well possibly have a payment in the spring.
So you put something in the budget beforehand, before we did anything?
As a contingency is a possibility, because you hired them to start projecting this project.
Approved.
Right, that's why it's under contingency.
But it's on those numbers.
Yes, it is included in this number. Yeah, I had explained that with the board last month, that was in there.
That includes the APM. I'm just looking on that.
So we
We
refunded
paid that off.
that one, and it's that was refunded to, what was that?
So what's left on that?
4 years ago, 5.
Yeah, it was like in 2020, I think. I have
That was
to,
before that.
I mean,
I paid that long before. we did that.
oh, that was paid off, but we refunded it with a bond, yes.
Yes.
But the original loan for that was paid off. And I'm not sure how many years are left in that.
But we do have another bond that we're paying on that. I'm sorry.
We have 5 bond issues that are still remaining out there that we pay annually. And that is the large portion of that. It's like $6.8 million is the payments on those.
You get some plan callback right from that, right?
We do get revenue, so there is a side of that where we get, yes.
Career
so-
Center and high school.
That we get revenue and receipts on 3 of those bonds. We get regular reimbursement from Plancom.
And we refinanced a couple of bonds a couple of years ago and got $8.2 million cash back.
Yes,
Paid for roofs, paid for a lot of
we
stuff.
paid for a lot of stuff when we refinanced those bonds, absolutely. Yeah, we did a lot of work at many of our schools.
But we wrote checks for them to not do any bond financing.
Right. Yeah, that was based on the savings of interest when we did those
Right.
bond refundings.
Thank you. I appreciate your
Yes.
help understanding all these numbers.
Not a problem. So this is where I was gonna speak of the contingency, but we'll start with at the top. So what's included in this budget, Salaries have been rolled forward based on the actual agreements, including all employees within every employment group. The teacher bid meeting was held on May 7th. After the bid meeting, we adjusted all of the staff that had changed to the proper budget codes. And we also budgeted for the 3 open positions that remained after that bid meeting. We will continue to look at all areas of staffing for potential savings as well as all areas of the budget, line by line. I will re-meet with, all administrators and principals and go through, re-go through every portion of the budget. We always do that between the preliminary, or the proposed and the final budget. So the middle section in there, the contingency, 2 parts of, one part of that is, sorry, I lost my train. Okay, so with the proposal for the cyber tuition to have a maximum of that 8,000, what was suggested and out there at the state was to budget in those line items where your tuition is as if they're set in the state maximum tuition, but into your contingency. So it's not included in the calculation for your PDE 363, which is your calculation for the cyber tuition that they currently use, to put that difference in the contingency. So in our regular budget for tuition, I budgeted as though there's a maximum of the $8,000 per regular ed student. And then the difference, which we pay currently $11,369 for every regular ed student, so that difference is budgeted in contingency. If that state maximum, if that bill gets passed, that will be a savings to our district that we will not have that cost. So we will save money, but we have it in contingency so that if it does not pass, or if it passes for higher than the $8,000, we have this year to roll into that budget so that we have enough budgeted for that. So that's part of the contingency, and the other part of the contingency was the anticipation of a possible half-year bond payment if the Dunbar Township renovation project does go forth.
What's your half-year bond payment based on?
See, we had gotten an estimate approximately anywhere from 20 to
And what
30
did you
million.
base it on?
I based it on the 25 million as we had gotten estimates from John McShane for if we did a $20 million project at 25 and 20. I based it on the 25 million. And it was about 1.2 million, $1.1 million was gonna be approximately, because you don't know interest rates until you go to do the bond, but approximately 1.1 million would be an annual cost. So if this goes forth and we have one payment, it would be approximately $550,000. So that's what I based that on. So, if things change between now and June, we will adjust numbers, accordingly. So this is just trying to balance the operating budget. The school district, there's always items that are larger capital costs that we need to keep in mind. And this is just a small part of an ever-changing list and ever-growing list of items that you have to keep. You have to maintain your buildings, you have to maintain, your school district and the items in it. So we've been talking about renovating Dunbar Township Elementary School, the roof at Springfield Township, as well as some of the windows that have not been done. Some of them have been done in previous years. Possibility of some renovations at the administration office, ongoing replacement of the aging fleet of vehicles and mowers for the maintenance department, new lighting at the stadium, middle school, some replacement of some windows and repair to the roof, and a bell system for Wilson Township Elementary School. There's more, but this is the start of the list that I've been given.
Sheree, does the state say anything to business managers about when that grant, the old plan con money that they used to get, available? The new grant, when is that window gonna open?
They have not, I've not heard anything from ASBO, PSBA.
They're delaying it?
Yep, they're just delaying, yeah. So as soon as we hear more, that is the hope for either the possibility for Dunbar Township definitely to apply for that state money. So that's another reason, once we know that grant's gonna be open, we have to have figures and plans in place in order to apply for that. Without a plan in place, you can't do the application. So we're on the right track starting a plan. If we need to delay that plan to wait for grant money or, to apply for a grant, then, that
Well,
might
we
be
could
an
also,
option.
we could do Springfield
We could
roof
do
out of that
Springfield
as well. I mean, that's all
So,
in the talk.
so we do have, and we have built our capital reserve fund up a little bit. So we do have some capital reserve money that is in our account, approximately $5 million. And so some smaller projects can possibly be, done out of that to not affect our operating budgets. So that is one way that you can use that money to do some of your smaller projects.
Well, even with the grant, it's 50%, the school's gonna pay 50%
Yes.
down. So if it's a 1.5 million, you're still paying 50% or of your cost, so
Yeah.
we're gonna need that money.
So there's,
50% nothing, is it, well, is it 50% reimbursement, or is it 100% you have to put 50 out?
Right, you have to put the 50%.
50% match,
Yeah,
is that 50% match?
I mean, that was before.
That's
They
what
can
it
change
was
that
also.
role, it's the state, they decide, they change it. I mean, they don't even
That's
know
the
their
grant I
own,
was talking.
Yes.
they don't know their own funding formula right now, and they expect us to make budgets.
Right.
Ask them for their funding formula and get back to me. Say, show me your funding formula and get back to me.
It's very complex.
Or just say, how about this, I know where all the money's going, it's going to Philly, Allegheny County, Erie, and Harrisburg. That's where all your, anywhere that's blue, that's where it's all going.
If you
Rural
look-
schools will get screwed.
If you look at what the state is adding total to the basic ed subsidy, you'd think we were gonna get a lot more than what I presented
We're not.
tonight, and we're not.
They're just gonna put it in failing schools.
So,
I didn't vote for Shapiro, if anybody's wondering.
So, I mean, obviously, there's not room in this budget to do any additional funds to capital reserve. However, we have built our capital reserve fund.
Paul voted for Shapiro, so you want to.
Well, I did,
So
You voted for the
just,
guy that wanted to cut the state,
there you go.
go.
Hey, politics were every yesterday, Robert.
alright. So just to, again, reiterate, I'm going to continue to meet over the next month with the administrative team and all departments and all of the principals. And we will, remember tonight's motion is not to approve a final budget. This is a preliminary proposed budget. There will be changes between now and June. Feel free to come, talk to me, any part of the budget. The board has detailed printed of every account. Anything that you have a question on, absolutely give me a call, come see me. I want everybody to have an understanding of this process and everything that's a part of the budget. So please feel free to reach out to me and we can schedule some time to talk.
Can you reiterate our timeline? If we don't pass a preliminary budget tonight, what is the last day that we can do that?
So the budget, the proposed budget has to be passed no later than May 31st. However, then that puts you at, you have to have 30 days, so then you have an option, but June 30th to be your final budget and a special meeting. So obviously, I would not want to push it out to that, so if you do not pass it tonight, our suggestion would be a meeting, we said next Tuesday or Wednesday, well, Tuesday would be the ideal, so that we can have it that Thursday, the 26th of June, would be then 30 days out, because myself and Richie are not available on that Friday, the 27th.
Okay.
So-
Let everybody know.
And- Yeah,
There's
we
a
want
window.
to, there's a window, yeah, and you don't want to, we have a little bit of a window. So we would have to have a special meeting if it's not passed tonight, next Tuesday. And then we would have a special meeting on the 26th of June, which would be the 30 days out from next Tuesday. That would
I
be.
just think there's a lot of stuff in here that's not included, that, we're throwing a deficit, it's not even in the bowl. That's my opinion.
would be
I just think it's high, and we're not, we didn't crunch what we needed to crunch, and that, we needed that. We're not looking year to year, we're not looking over the last year. I don't know, we month to month, we look at what we did in 23 in
I
November
compare
compared to
the
24.
three-year history.
You guys do that?
Yeah, when I'm
I
looking
mean,
at
every
the
month,
principals.
like I look at this 600,000, and I was.
When I'm comparing the budget and I'm going through the principals.
I mean, do we do month to month and tell us what we're
No, there's, with school districts, month to month, I mean,
I
I do look, but there's also accruals, so you
I
remember we go
understand,
to
but
the
probably our school
July.
districts should run month to month. To be honest with you, I didn't know, you're telling us now it's about 600,000 that we need to trim for this year.
Well, that was what the budget was. We're looking at where we're.
So, but we should know today where we're at.
There's a lot to estimate out because you have
I
accruals
really,
that
not
come
estimates
close to
today, what we spent, what we have brought in, and what we look for from last year.
A lot of your subsidies and a lot of your revenues come in July and
I
August, so
think
yes.
our expenses. If you look at your expenses for November of
yeah.
last year, November of this year, are they up, they down, they're the same, they current, they're not, they are? When you're reconciling, you should be able to know from November 23 and November 24, you should be able to tell me, are we 100,000 over or 50,000 under?
Well, every year varies a little bit with your budget.
But
but
you
yes.
should be able to look at that and know year to year, and really month to month. And that tells us every month, are we on track for this budget for this year? Are we not on track for this budget for this year?
We are under budget still for expenditures for this current year. We are under our budget.
We under budget for the year before compared to the year before.
I didn't compare that month from year to year, but yes, I mean, I was looking at this year and
I
what.
think we should probably, I'm not even.
And I mean, we did put us, I put a spending freeze out for schools in April, except for anything that was for, year-end graduation or year-end first processes, or anything that was grant money that still had to be used up by June 30th.
Isn't there a way you could start this like in February instead of?
We start working on it in February. We start this process. I started I start working on salaries and benefits in January and February. It's a process. And then I'm also on a new system this year, so, there's a learning curve as to this software versus the previous software. But yeah, no, I started in January, and we look at salaries and benefits, and then in March I started meeting with principals and writing reports and sending them out and meeting with them and talking about their budget.
I think quickly, within the last week or so, we've talked about a few avenues that are going to reduce that deficit pretty good. We need to work on that in the next week.
I mean, I have time to change it before the final. We usually,
Yeah, I think there's some stuff in there
and
that will deflate that deficit. It's not in there. That's my impression.
And
One of them we talked about last week.
I know in last year I asked, if we could get started on this budget in October, November, okay, in a timely manner so that we could get this information by February, and now a lot of school districts do that. And I would like to see every department, every line item, this right here is just an oversight for me. I want to see every line item. I want to see every department, how money's being spent. I want to go back a year. If we had $30,000 in there, and we only spent $5, why do we have to put $30,000? You get where I'm coming from?
Oh, yeah.
I think it would be helpful to all of us to make a decision as we're sitting here. So I think that would help.
Anything else? Thank you. Is that it? Thank you. Moving to the public comment for agenda items. Good nothing. Moving to athletic assistance.
Thank you, Mr. Gonzalez. Request approval to solicit bids for fall sports equipment and supplies. Mine so moved.
Motion is second. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries.
Request approval to hire the following 25-26 supplemental positions. Varsity assistant volleyball coach, Rylan Musgrove. Assistant boys basketball coach, Hudson Novak. Co-assistant girls basketball coach, Jim Yurley. Co-assistant girls basketball coach, Leanne Mickens. and co-assistant girls basketball coach Gary Petrone. My seven.
Second.
A motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Request approval of the following volunteer coaches. Varsity football, Jason Fletcher. Varsity wrestling, Jonathan Nepper and Mason Prinky. Boys varsity soccer, Luke Pepperat. And girls varsity basketball, Jeffrey Kuzer. And I so move.
Second.
A motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Request approval of the 25-26 annual supplementary contracts as proposed. And I so move.
Second.
A motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
That's all I have. Mr. Renzi,
I have nothing, thank
Mr. Martucci,
you.
Mr. Evans.
Nothing, thank you.
That's all we have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Sullivan. Moving to buildings and grounds, Mr. Detwiler.
Thank you, Mr. Panzella. I'd like to request to hire Mike Henry as a 4-hour custodian effective Monday, May 26, 2025, and I so move. I'll second.
Motion and second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Request the conditional approval contingent upon successful submission of screening and background checks of the following additions to the custodial substitute list for the 2024-25 school year. Derek Saford, Clint Gamborski, and Derek Robinson, and I so move.
Second.
Motion and second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Request approval for the planned service agreements as followed with service site for Bullskin Township Elementary School, Dunbar Township Elementary School, Springfield, Clifford M. Prince Elementary School, West Crawford Elementary, Connellsville Area Middle School, Connellsville Area High School, Connellsville Area Career Technical Center, the administration building, stadium, and the warehouse with an annual thing for fire extinguisher maintenance with 298 units, cost of $6,665, and semi-annual kitchen hood suppression inspection maintenance with 8 units at a cost of $2,167.20, and I so move. Second.
Motion and second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Request approval for Sports Floor Incorporated, Fagan Sanitation Supply to sand, refinish, and paint the CAHS gym floor at a cost of $43,780 with their co-star number 005E22-192, and I so move. Second.
Motion and second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Request approval of the 3-year customer service agreement between the Connellsville Area School District and Republic Services for Waste Disposal effective June 1st, 2025 through May 30th, 2028 at a monthly cost of $3,072.69 for the first year and an 8% increase for year 2 and 3 for Bullskin Township Elementary, Dunbar Township Elementary, West Crawford Elementary, and Springfield Clifford M. Prince Elementary as proposed, and I so move.
Second.
Motion second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Request approval of the following summer custodial workers, Solly McPoyle and Tanner Anderson, and I so move. Second.
Motion second. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries.
Mr. Kokenauer, anything additional?
Nothing, thank you.
Mrs. Bankston?
Nothing. Thank you.
Mr. Kirk?
Nothing, thank you.
Mrs. Bailey here? No. That's all we have, Mr. Manzella, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Detwiler. Moving to the Carnegie Free Library, Mrs. Driscoll.
We have nothing, thank you. Mr. Martre, do you have anything?
Nothing, thank you.
Mr. Archman?
I have nothing, thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Driscoll. Moving to the Connellsville Area Career and Technical Center, Mr. Kokenauer.
Thank you, Mr. Panzella. We have nothing tonight. Mr. Detwiler.
Nothing, sir.
Mr. Langston.
Nothing. Thank you.
Mr. McWillan.
Nothing tonight, thank you.
That's all we have, Mr. Panzella. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kokenauer. Moving to curriculum, Mr. Martucci.
Thank you, Mr. Panzella. Request approval to renew a 3-year contract for Harris Educational Solutions Ed Insight Student Performance Suite at a cost of $36,294.01 for year 1, $39,197.53 for year 2, and $41,941.36 for year 3 to be paid for from the curriculum. I so move.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries.
Request approval of following professional employee travel. I'd like to spread 1 through 4, and I so move.
Second.
Motion and second. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries.
And that's all I have. Mr. Detwiler.
Nothing additional, sir.
Mr. Renzi.
Yes, sir.
Dr. Candace.
I have nothing, thank you.
That's all I have, Mr. Panzella. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Martucci. Moving to cyber, Mr. Martre.
Thank you, Mr. Panzella. The only thing I have is, I'd I'd like to have a point of clarification under our Robert's Rules of Order. Mr. Witt, if you have anything to say on this as I go through it, I wish you to just jump in here. It has been our past practice with process and procedures to keep all chairmen of their committees informed of any changes or needs prior to a motion being made on an action item. Am I correct on that? Somebody want to answer that for me? You want me to read that again?
You want to read the question again?
Yes, President, or anybody, doesn't matter. Is that what we've been doing? Okay, I'll read it again. It has been past practice with process and procedures to keep all chairmen of their committee informed of any changes or needs prior to a motion being made on an action item.
So just to clarify,
I don't know what that is. I don't either.
so to clarify, when you're talking about before there's action on an item, what action you mean, a vote of the board?
Yeah.
I mean,
We're going to vote on
I can't speak to what historically the entire past practice of the district has been. But generally, within certain items that would fall under certain committees, it's appropriate to keep chairs abreast of what is going on within that committee. Yes.
it. And then the other thing I had then why wasn't the chairman informed of the changes in the FOLA agreement last month before official vote was taken? That's what I want to know. Somebody answer that for me. I'm the chair. I wasn't informed of that.
Did you know?
That was it's referring to the pay rate that was discussed on Monday night. And decided
So the question was with respect to the whole MOU. True. It was indicated just in sidebar that was discussed at the meeting previously that week. And so it was addressed to the entire board, which would have included the committee chair, although I believe you were absent that day, which is why it's indicated that was, you were not been involved in that discussion.
Yes. And I called Mr. Evans. I had a personal reason for not being there, and I talked to Mr. Evans and I explained it to him, but nothing was mentioned about the MOU to me, and I knew I couldn't be there on Monday night.
Because nothing was discussed until that night.
Okay, so why wasn't I told on Wednesday by someone that there was a change in that MOU? No one approached me and said we're going to change it, so I read it as it was written up, and I received that from you on Friday, 28th, before, whatever date that was, 26th. So I assumed that nothing had changed in it. That was my assumption on that.
So that
So
pay
nobody
rate,
told me. Go ahead.
that pay rate was decided Monday night, and the MOU was adjusted as such, and that's what was placed onto the agenda for Wednesday.
Well, that's my point. No one told me about the change. I voted on something that I wasn't told.
Granted, it was a whole board discussion, but you were absent, correct?
Right, so why didn't somebody just tell me on Wednesday? Someone could have spoke up and said, hey, we have a change here. I want you to know about it. No one did. So I just want to get a clarification on that. So it's now part of our public meeting and public domain. That's all I have to say. Does anybody else have anything to say on our committee? Mrs. Driscoll, do you have anything else to add?
No, nothing, thank you.
Mr. Harshman?
Nothing, thank you.
Mr. Ghost?
Nothing, thank
That's
you.
all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Martrey. Moving to federal programs, Mr. Harshman.
Thank you, Mr. Panzella. I have nothing. Mr. Renzi?
No, sir, nothing.
Mr. Martucci?
No, sir.
Dr. Coons?
I have nothing, thank you.
We have nothing.
Thank you, Mr. Harshman. Moving to finance, Mr. Renzi.
Thank you, Mr. Panzella. Request approval of the following donations to the CTC from Heartland Fabrication, $1,000 donation for Nathan Cow for the National Skills USA competition. Piano Restoration, an anonymous donation for $75, and a cash donation of $53. Donation for the scholarship award request. Wait, I'm sorry. I so moved. Second.
Motion is second. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Request approval to accept the following donations for student scholarship. The Breakneck Fund scholarship total of $5,064.72 goes to Robert Barron in the amount of $2,532.36, and Emma Nicholson in the same amount, $2,532.36. The Vitalent Scholarship of $250 to Aubrey McLean, and the Van Nosdell Scholarship total of $2,066 to Lauren Dennis, $1,033, and Cameron Stern, $1,033. And I so move.
Second.
Motion is second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Request approval of the resolution for the 2025-2026 proposed final budget in the amount of $89,142,510 for the Collinsville Area School District and $4,592,114 for the Collinsville Area Career and Technical Center. Resolved by the Board of School Directors of the Collinsville Area School District as follows. The proposed final budget of the school district and Career and Technical Center for the 2025-2026 fiscal year on Form PDE 2028, as presented to the school board, shall be considered the proposed final budget of the school district for the 2025-2026 fiscal year and shall be made available for public inspection after this date. At least 10 days before the date scheduled for adoption of the final budget, the secretary shall advertise the final budget notice in substantially the form as presented to the school board. The notice shall be advertised once in a newspaper of general circulation and shall be posted conspicuously at the school district offices, and I so move.
Second.
Motion is second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Roll call.
Mr. Renzi,
Geez. Yes.
Mr. Harshman,
No.
Mrs. Sangston,
No.
Mr. Kokenauer,
Yes.
Mr. Martucci,
Yes.
Mr. Martre,
No.
Mrs. Driscoll,
No.
Mr. Detweiler,
No.
Mr. Panzella.
None.
Motion passed.
And we had a finance committee meeting held on on Friday, May 16, 2025. That's all I have, Mr. Pansella. Anything you want to add to that, Mr. Detweiler?
Yes. Do we schedule that, Mr. Solicitor? We schedule that meeting now for next Tuesday, or?
We should, just as a notification of the public. So
Yes.
if we do have those dates, that will be posted and advertised in accordance with the Sunshine Act. Yes.
Yep, so because tonight's final proposed budget is not affirmed by the majority of the board, we will schedule 2 special meetings for the purpose of budget and any other pertinent matters that would come before the board. Those special board meetings will be held next week, Tuesday, May 27th at 5 p.m. and again on Thursday, June 26th, 2025, also at 5 p.m. Both meetings at the high school, and they will be advertised as such.
Maybe in here?
Auditorium would be all right.
Depending on the renovation.
Auditorium.
If there's no presentation, there's no reason we wouldn't be able to.
Exactly.
If we say the 6th to the final budget, then we're not going to have the regular board meeting.
We'll still have the June board meeting.
So as I was looking at that, that's in the, I would say, no matter what we do by Tuesday, we have a lot of work before June.
Is there a reason why you picked 5 o'clock?
For the workers.
I mean, that's generally what time we've done special meetings in the past. Is that okay?
Do it later.
That is Tuesday, May 27th, and Thursday, June 26th.
Is the consensus, can we go a little bit later, Rich?
What time you want to go?
What do you want to do? You want to do 6, what's the consensus of the board?
6? Brown workers. Cecilia?
6 would work for me.
I mean, hold on, I just threw it out. I'm working at 6, down on this end of the table. We're really far away,
Did you say you're working at 6?
No, that's not.
Good at 6.
No, we're good at 6.
Okay, good.
I think I'll do it a little bit extra.
That's fine.
Anything else, Mr. Kokenauer?
Not for you.
Mrs. Robinson?
That's done.
I'm sorry.
both meetings?
Both meetings at 6.
I would just like to meet with the finance committee after this to maybe schedule a finance meeting, that we can have, sometime either tomorrow or Friday, so we can discuss the budget further. So you give me some guidance as to, where we want to go with this. So if I could just meet with the finance committee, after the meeting to discuss the time we can meet, that'd be great, and everything else, thank you.
That's all I have, Mr. Manuel, thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Ramsey. We're food service, Mrs. Singh.
Thank you. Request the conditional approval contingent upon successful submission and screening and background checks of the following additions to substitute cafeteria list for 24-25 school year. Tammy Perry, and I so move.
Second.
A motion and a second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
The prices for the summer feeding will be adult breakfast is $3 and adult lunch is $5. And I so move.
Second.
For a second. Let me get it.
Motion and a second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
That's all I had. Mr. Martray?
Nothing, thank you.
Mr. Kochner?
Nothing, thank you.
Mr. Tripp? Not
Yes.
Okay. Move.
Thank you, Mrs. Singh. Moving to personnel and reviewing liaison, Mr. Renzi.
Mr. Mansell, request approval to appoint Jeffrey McWilliams as CTC Director effective July 1st, 2025 through June 30th, 2028 as proposed, and to approve the corresponding CTC Director contract pending approval of the district solicitor, and I so move.
Second.
A motion and a second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Request approval for the district to accept letters of interest and applications with resumes, curriculum vitae for the position of district superintendent. Such submissions to be received by the board secretary, and I so move. Second.
Motion and a second, this was an addition. Are there any questions? No questions, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Motion- Roll call.
Mrs. Langston?
No.
Mr. Martray?
Yes.
Mr. Kokenauer?
Yes.
Mr. Harshman?
No.
Mrs. Driscoll?
Yes.
Mr. Detwiler?
Yes.
Mr. Renzi?
Yes.
Mr. Martucci?
Yes.
Mr. Panzella?
Yes. Good, Mr. Renzi.
Okay. Request approval to accept the retirement of Amy Kokenauer, Director of Human Resources, effective July 7th, 2025, and I so move.
Second.
Motion and second, this was an addition, is there any questions? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Mr. Detwiler.
Quickly, of course, we're all gonna say congratulations to Amy, and talk about meat sandwiches at Maze. And again, congratulations and well-deserved to Jeff McWilliams, to get promoted to director. He does the job, and he deserves the title and the additional pay. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Mr. Martucci.
No, sir.
Mrs. Kokenauer.
Thank you.
And Mr. Evans.
Yes, some of the board asked me to speak briefly about the 20B, the posting for district superintendent, and I really don't like to talk about myself, but when I was asked to fill in the role as interim superintendent in July of 2023, I envisioned that being for a couple of weeks. It was never my intention of this really being my career path at this point in my career, as I feel I have a lot yet to accomplish in my role as Director of Athletics and Transportation, and a long career yet ahead of me. It's also really not feasible to continue to do 3 jobs for that long term for a district of this size. I'm thankful for my time in this role, and I hope it will be looked back at a time where I attempted to raise morale increased collaboration and that some positive change was made. But having said that, I'm not going anywhere. I will gladly continue in this position for as long as it takes until you find the right person, and I'll be more than willing to work alongside the next person to ensure a smooth transition. Thanks to everyone for the opportunity and for accepting me. Also wanted to reiterate what Mr. Detweiler had already talked about, that you just saw under personnel tonight that the board took action to accept the retirement of our Human Resources Director, Amy Kokenauer. This is going to be a major loss to the district in that Amy's unique knowledge of personnel, human resources, and labor relations will not just be something that's greatly missed, but it truly is going to be something that cannot be replaced. Even though you have a few months or a month and a half with us yet, Amy, I want to wish you congratulations on your retirement.
Mr. Evans, we appreciate all you do and all you've done for us, and continue to. Mr. Kokenauer, the same to you. We appreciate all you've done. You're going to be difficult to replace. I wish you the best. Okay, and we'll be up to May. That's all I have, Mr. Manzella. Thank you.
Thank you. You're right, well, Miss Amy, like I told Rich, it's letters of interest. So it's not one anywhere yet. Okay, Mr. Renzi, thank you very much. Policy and legislative, Mr. Martre.
Thank you, Mr. Panzo. We have nothing this evening. Mrs. Driscoll, you have anything to add?
I have nothing, thank you.
Mr. Harrison?
Nothing, thank you.
Mr. Evans?
Nothing, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Martre. Moving to safety and security, Mr. Martucci.
Thank you, Mr. Manzella. Request approval to enter into an agreement with Emergen 3 E3 for a safety and emergency notification application at a cost of $10,000 a year, with an additional $6,000 setup fee to be partially paid for by the PCCD grant. And I so move.
Second.
A motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
And that's all I have. Mr. Driscoll.
I have nothing, thank you.
Ms. Sexton. Mr. Parvack.
I'd like to thank you, and I have nothing further.
Thank you. Thanks for arranging that and setting that up and getting that pushed through, Mike. We appreciate that.
Well, Mr. Evans is very instrumental as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All I have. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Martucci. Moving to special education, Mr. Harshman.
Thank you, Mr. Panzella. I have nothing. Mrs. Driscoll?
I have nothing, thank you.
Mr. Martre?
Nothing, thank you.
Mrs. Banya?
Nothing, thank you.
That's all we have, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Harshman. Moving to student services, Mrs. Sangston.
Thank you. Request approval of the access reimbursement service agreement for administrative support and base staff for the 25-26 school year, subject to the Connors Ferry School District standard terms and conditions for the purchase of goods and services, and I so move.
Second.
A motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Request approval of the agreement between the Intermediate Unit 1 and the Connors Ferry School District for educational services beginning July 1, 25 through June 30, 26 as proposed, pending solicitor review, subject to the Connors Ferry School District standard terms and conditions for the purchase of goods and services, and I so move.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Request approval of the Eastern University Cooperative School Nurse Practicum Affiliation Agreement for Megan Kavanaugh to obtain her school nurse certification during the 25-26 school year, and I so move.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Request approval for the 25 driver's education vehicle lease agreement between the Connors Ferry School District and TA Nelson Bus Lines at a cost of $700 per month, effective June 25 through August 25, and I so move.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
That's all I have, Mr. Driscoll.
I have nothing, thank you.
Mr. Copeland? Ms. Good?
I have nothing, thank you.
Thank you, that's all we have, thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Sangston. Moving to technology, Mr. Detweiler.
Thank you, Mr. Manzella. We have nothing. Mr. Martre?
Nothing.
Mr. Harshman?
Nothing, thank you.
Mr. Ghost?
Nothing, thank you.
That's all we have, Mr. Manzella. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Detweiler. Moving to transportation, Mr. Kokenauer.
Thank you, Mr. Panzella. Request approval of the updates and additions to the bus man drivers list, and I so move.
Second.
Motion is second. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
That's all I have, Mr. Panzella. Mr. Martucci, do you have?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Randy?
Nothing, sir.
Mr. Evans?
Thank you.
That's all we have, Mr. Panzella, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Coconut. We have nothing under the president's report. Next, we go to public comment for non-agenda items. First, we have Caitlin Kessler, classroom sizes. And just remind everybody it's 3 minutes.
I'm coming to you as a concerned parent of a student at Springfield Elementary School. It's my understanding they are planning on shutting down 2 of the teachers for the upcoming 25-26 school year. First and foremost, we need to look at what demographics are in the mountain communities. Poverty is high in the area. Numbers of parents without education beyond a high school diploma. Additionally, many of our building students' population lack stable home environments. These varying situations contribute to children that will already struggle when it comes to academics. The teachers at Springfield have the odds stacked up against them before they even walk in the door with our demographics. Yet, USIT can come to majority consensus to agree that it's okay to put upwards of almost 30 students in a classroom and choose to cut special education teachers from a school that has large numbers of students with IEPs and 5A4 plans, which continues to be on the rise. I know that number of students that are in need for special education services on the rise across the country. Additionally, it simply doesn't seem possible to have 2 special education teachers for 12 classrooms, and there's many students that get pulled out. Is there even enough time in the day to cover all these classrooms? What if the students need more time for a test? What if a student is not understanding the lesson after co-teaching support and they need a small group lesson to further drill practice? Do we just say, sorry, forget it, it's on your own time, figure it out? That's tough. What about the class size? As I said, our demographic is not thriving in academics. If we want to see the kids break through from their struggles of life, we need to be able to provide them more support. Not less, a larger classroom size is going to mean less individual attention to all students. That struggle in all students that need to be challenged further, like my son in this class, that it will affect. There's only so much time for all subjects. Class sizes mean that students are doing well, will show less growth because the teacher will only be able to have the large number of students that do not understand the material. Our advanced students will grow slower, and the students struggling will continue to struggle. There is no way that a teacher can successfully reach all students to provide them the support they need. When they almost have 30 students in a classroom. Like numbers, if I know they go up, they don't go down from 25, doesn't, round down to 20, I know 27, round up to 30. So that's a very big classroom size. Let's see what else I want to point out, so I don't have time. With that time, they will gain a maximum opportunity to learn and thrive because all of the students will get all of the attention they need. It has been successful in the past years with this class, so why change it now? Why not continue with 3 classrooms for these children throughout their last 2 years at Springfield St. Tricks? It's not unfair to the students, or it is unfair to the students as the teachers no one would benefit from any of these teachers. And my daughter is in the gifted program up there, so a student that thrives and is doing well, she's also kind of for getting rid of a special education teacher that is also a teacher up there. So I don't know if that was my time or not, but yeah, I'm very disappointed, and I hope that you listen to me because it's tough. As a mom, 3 kids go to school, I want them thriving, not falling behind.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Brown, would you address the reduction of the special ed teacher up there? Could you explain?
Yeah, so you go based on numbers, and depending on how many students we're moving on to the middle school, that would determine, we would follow a guideline from the state of how many students can be on a roster.
And also, I know whenever Springfield was initiated to get a school there, we were promised as parents and taxpayers that each classroom would have 3 class, each grade will have 3 classrooms up there. That was in the clear beginning when it first became I believe that was something that was said in the past, so I would like to see that. Especially K through 3rd. No, not special ed, even just general ed for the classroom size. Especially K through 2nd, whenever there's those big numbers coming in, to see that the kids.
Dr. Coons, would you address why we kind of teach our type of, why it was reduced?
Anytime we look at class sizes, we look at what the class size projections are, how many students are going to be in the actual classroom, not just the numbers in the grade. We also have students who participate in other things like, they might be in life skills or the autistic support in the buildings, things like that. And we also look at projections of what we know of our students. We also know, like, sometimes we know ahead of time there are students who are leaving the district, so the numbers are changing. We look at voluntary transfers, whether we're going to grant those or not. So there's a lot of thought that goes into the process of where we're putting our teachers. And we also have to, as a board, they have to make sure that they're also looking at the taxpayers and the money they're spending to make sure that we're doing it wisely, and that we're doing the best for kids. So that's a fine balance between everything. And so.
I could go on about some things, I was keeping my shut. It's not worth the drama, but I understand, I think there's some truths not being told to people, so let's go there.
All right, we'll move on to, next we have Sonny Bentley, eliminate position.
Yes, I'd just like to speak for a minute. We just went over a preliminary budget of approximately $89.5 million. And anyone that knows me knows I've never been an advocate of the Act 93 or need to increases of a contract that was doubled in term and doubled in annual increases. So with the retirement of Mrs. Kopenauer, I would like the board to at least consider not filling that position, eliminating the HR position, because of our neighboring school districts, that's a duty that falls to the superintendent. And from what I understand, the superintendents are going to get paid more than. So I'm glad to find that humorous, because I mean, we're talking taxpayers' money. And again, I kind of took a little personal offense to the fact that you were saying that you want to take people's consider in what's important and stuff. Well, children are important. They're the main reason we're all here. So if they're not thriving, they're not surviving, I would like to see the money that's going towards the salaries for administrators to go towards a special education teacher for the students, as opposed to the administrators making all this money. And yes, it makes the budget more convenient, but it doesn't help if the money isn't in budget. So again, that's my point. We're budgeting things, but the money's not in the budget to budget out. So that would be a consideration to eliminate the HR position and give that money towards the Springfield Elementary Short and special education teachers, so the kids up there can thrive. Thank you.
I don't understand how you want to give that to the superintendent. Now, he already has 3 heads now.
Because again, neighboring school districts, a lot of them don't have HR directors.
She's right.
Districts our size do, yes they do. Or other ones have maybe 2 assistant superintendents, one of them is in charge of the HR.
We didn't have
Our,
money to go to there. Money to go there. How do you do it?
I see it.
No, I was just saying, she said to take the money there, but first she said we didn't have the money to give, so if you don't have the money to give, how do you give it anyway?
No, that's not what I said.
That's what you said.
I
You
said
said
you
we're
can
to
save
deficit.
money
You
by
said we're to
not
deficit.
hiring another HR director.
You said we're
and
to
putting
deficit.
it toward taking that and putting it toward special education where the kids
But if
need
you're
it.
at a deficit, we have to close the deficit. We have no.
Well, then
we
if you're at
didn't
a
have that
deficit, you trim the fat from the top.
money. Well, you trim the fat.
Trim the fat from the top.
You trim the fat from everywhere.
Well, generally, you trim it from the top. When the administrators are making money, like we are a wealthy community, we're not. The average median income in Connellsville is $47,000. You're paying the
So everybody
administrators
in
like we're a
Connellsville
wealthy
makes the
community.
same amount of
So we're
money.
not.
So if you go to a
And
factory,
again,
so if you
again,
go to
that
a
goes
factory,
to
I'm
that,
sure
because
if you
yeah,
worked
there's
20 years there, you would
compensators.
want the same salary as
Yeah.
somebody walked off the street. That makes no sense. So if you walk in day one, if you've worked there 20 years, you're telling me that whoever walks in day one should make the same as you?
No, I didn't say that.
That's what you just
Well, don't, stop.
Everybody's the same.
Open your ears and shut your mouth
Guaranteed.
and listen to what I'm saying.
Any day
There
you-
was no reason to double the administrator's
There
contract
was
from
no
3
double.
years to 6 years and double the annual percentage.
There was no
It went from
double, Mrs. Bentley. You don't
1.2%.
even know what you're talking about. There was none.
It went from 1.2% to over 3%. Look it up, people.
Who else did? Anybody else?
Anybody else?
Anybody else? Double? Anybody else get the same?
Act 93
Anybody else?
administrators and me too administrators.
Any other contracts?
Contract at the same raises?
Any other contracts
They
with
didn't
the
get,
same
they
rate?
didn't get 6-year contracts and they didn't get 4.5% the first year. They didn't get 3.2% the second year, 3.2% and 3.28% for the last 3 years of the contract.
I think some people did get 6 years. You may want to check.
Well, again, then you need to turn that back.
Mr. Mansell, can I say something?
Well, we need to move on.
Please don't interrupt, okay? I'm gonna make a statement, okay? This is not a conversation. But, 10 years ago, we were in debt, we had to lay off 60 people. We didn't have money. Our administrators, they took freezes, they go 1.5% raise, 1% raise. The reason we have a 6-year contract is so that our contracts of all the ones we have don't conflict, where we're negotiating 2 or 3 contracts in 1 year. So we had to move the administrators out to 6 years, so not to conflict with teachers, secretaries, custodians, cafeterias. That's why we have a 6-year contract, okay? As far as our administrators getting big bumps, I'll give you an example. 10 years ago, we had 3 administrators. One did secondary curriculum, one did elementary, one did federal. Each getting $100,000. Right now, and so over 10 years, with the raises, that would have been about $3 million. We have one person now doing that job. Okay, we'd probably save $2 million on that. As human resource director, 7 years ago, Mr. Kokenhart took the job. The one previous was getting $95,000. She took the job for like 60, okay, or less than that. She's entitled to have it. That's why she got a big bump, because she was entitled to that bump, okay? She makes what, $82,000. The HR director at Greensburg gets $124. The one in Hemphill gets $140,000. That's a good idea. You don't want to hear the truth.
No, I'm going to leave before I say something that I'm going to regret. I think we've already said
Well, I'm
enough.
going to continue, okay? So we have a couple others who got nice raises. They deserve them, because they've been so underpaid for so long. But as far as us giving big raises for jobs, that is totally off the wall. And that's what our administrator, we negotiated with Laura, we got numbers of Laura Highlands, Uniontown, Fayette County districts. Laura Highlands has 2 assistant superintendents, some have 2 special ed directors, and we have 1. So we are so far behind as far as what other districts have. I mean, we're not wasting money here, believe me. But every person that we have is earning the money, they deserve what they're getting. Thank you.
Very well said, Mr. Benjamin. We have nothing else under non-agenda items. Assistant to the superintendent. Assistant to the superintendent.
Oh, I have nothing.
Nothing. Mr. Evans.
Real quick. As another school year winds to a close, I'd like to take this opportunity to wish everyone a great summer. To our students, increased freedom in the summertime often leads to the unfortunate choice of making unsafe or destructive decisions. As you're enjoying your time off this summer, please also keep in mind to not put yourself in a situation where you're jeopardizing yourself, safety, health, or well-being, or the others around you. Additionally, next Friday will be our annual commencement ceremony at Coswell Stadium at 6:30 p.m. I'd like to wish all of this year's graduates congratulations and good luck as you move on to the next phase of your life. That's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Evans.
G, motion to adjourn.